Everyone, today we learn about the male external genital organs. We know the male genital organs are situated both outside the pelvic cavity and within the pelvic cavity. See, which are the male genital organs? External genital organs. They are penis, scrotum, testes, epididymis and spermatic cord. See, as you learn in all these things in the lecture, I just give you the brief idea and we'll go to the testes in detail. Okay. First, the penis. We know the penis is a organ of the male copulation and it is made up of the two parts. That is the root. This is the root. Okay, or it's called the attached part. And the second is body or free portion. See, root of the penis. It is situated into the superficial perineal pouch. As we can see here, this is the root of the penis. It composed of the three masses of the erectile tissue. This is two crura and this is the bulb. As you can see here, the crura is attached to the margin of the pubic arch and it is covered by this one. This is the ischio-cavernous muscle. You can see here, this is the crura of one side, this is the another side, and it is covered by the one muscle that is called the corpora cavernosum. Okay, and the part that lies between the two crura, that is called the bulb of the penis, and it is attached to the perineal membrane and it is covered by the bulbospongiaceous muscle. You can see here, this brown is that is the bulbospongiaceous muscle, and you can see here it is pierced by the penile urethra in between. Okay. Now, the body of the penis. The body of the penis is completely covered by the skin and it is continuous with this root of the penis in front of the lower part of the pubic symphysis. It is composed of the three masses of erectile tissue. You can see here in this figure. This is the left cross. This is the right cross, and between this one is the third, that is corpora spongiosum. So, this two structure is called the corpora cavernosum. It is a continuation of the two crura. They are in close approximation with each other, okay, throughout the length, but it does not reach at the end of the penis. This corpora spongiosum, you can see here, this is the corpora spongiosum, that is a continuation of the bulb of the penis. Its terminal part, you can see in this picture, its terminal part is expanded to form a conical enlargement that is called the glans penis. Throughout this length, the corpora spongiosum, it is traversed by the urethra, and like the corpora cavernosum, it is surrounded by the fibrous sheath. See, this is a transverse section of the body of penis. You can see here, this is a two crura, right? And this is the bulb of the penis. So you can see here, they are covered by this pinkish structure, that is the tunica albuginea, right? And in turn, all the three masses is covered by the deep fascia. You can see this same picture in your histology diagram. Now something about the scrotum. We know the scrotum, it is a cutaneous bag that contains the right and left testes, the epididymis and the lower part of the spermatic cord. See, externally the scrotum is divided into right and left half by a ridge or raphe. You can see here ridge and raphe, which is continuous forward on the under surface of the penis and backward onto the along the middle of the perineum up to the anus. You can see here, this is the perineal raphe, right? See, the left half of the scrotum is somewhat little lower than the right because of the greater length of the left spermatic cord. Now, the appearance of the scrotum. Under the influence of the cold and in young individual, the scrotum is short, corrugated and closely applied to the testes. This is because of the muscle that is present subcutaneously into scrotum, and that is the dartos muscle. However, opposite to it, under the influence of the warmth and in old and debilitated person, the scrotum is elongated, flaccid due to relaxation of the dartos muscle. In short, the dartos muscle helps in the regulation of the temperature within the scrotum. Okay, now something about the layers of the scrotum. The scrotum is made up from outside to inside by layers are the skin. This is the skin. Okay, that is continuation of the abdominal skin. Now the superficial fascia here, it is replaced by the diaphragm muscle, and diaphragm muscle is prolonged to form a median vertical septum between the two halves of the scrotum. You can see here, this is the middle septum of the scrotum that is formed by the diaphragm muscle. The third layer is external spermatic fascia. This is the external spermatic fascia, right? That is derived from the external oblique muscle of the abdomen. Now the fourth layer is cremaster muscle and the fascia, that is derived from the internal oblique muscle of the abdomen, and the innermost layer, that is internal spermatic fascia. Here internal spermatic fascia, that is derived from the fascia transversalis. So I repeat, against the layer of the scrotum from outside to inside, they are skin, diaphragm muscle in place of superficial fascia, then external spermatic fascia, cremaster fascia, and internal spermatic fascia. Now the important thing is testis. See, testis, it is a male gonad. It is homologous with the ovary of the female. It is oval in shape and is suspended into the scrotum. You can see here, it is suspended into the scrotum with the help of the spermatic cord. See, you can see here, this is the spermatic cord. So with the help of the spermatic cord, the testis is suspended into the scrotum. The left testis is somewhat lower than the right testis. The testis is oval in shape. If we see about its dimension, it is 3.75 centimeter in long, 2.5 centimeter broad from before backward, and 1.8 centimeter thickness from side to side. See, the testis is remain such like that. The upper pole of the testis is somewhat forward and upward. It is 10 to 15 gram in weight. Now the external features of the testis. See, you can see here, it has upper pole, lower pole, anterior border, posterior border, medial surface, and the lateral surface. We will see one by one. This upper pole. Upper and lower pole are convex and smooth. The upper pole provides attachment to the spermatic cord. You can see here, the upper pole provides the spermatic cord. So the upper pole provides attachment to the spermatic cord. The lower pole is providing attachment to the gubernaculum. Okay, now the anterior border is convex and smooth, and it is fully covered by the tunica vaginalis. Okay, posterior border is straight and it is partially covered by the tunica vaginalis. Now for the site determination, the very important thing is we must remember that the epididymis is lies. This is the epididymis. You can see here, this is the epididymis. So epididymis is lies along the posterior border and on the lateral aspect. Means it is situated along the lateral part of the posterior border, and between the epididymis and testis there is one gap, that is called the sinus of epididymis. That should be on the posterolateral aspect. So when you hold the testis in your hand, first you have to see the spermatic cord should be on the upper aspect, and the sinus of epididymis that lies between the epididymis and the testis, that should be on the posterior as well as the lateral aspect. Okay, now the medial and lateral surface are convex and smooth. See, you can see here in the figure, there is at the upper pole of the testis here, there is small oval body is attached, that is called the appendix of the testis. It is the remnant of the paramesonephric duct. Okay. Now covering of the testis. See, this is a cross section of the testis. The covering are from outside to inside. They are tunica vaginalis, tunica albuginea, and tunica vasculosa. We will see one by one. See, tunica vaginalis represent the lower part of the persistent portion of the processus vaginalis. Okay, it is invaginated by the testis from the behind. So It has this parietal layer, you can see a parietal layer, and this visceral layer of tunica vaginalis. Okay, so it covers the testes in whole extent except on the posterior aspect. Okay, now the tunica albuginea. This is the tunica albuginea. This tunica albuginea is a dense white fibrous coat covering the testes all around. You can see here. Okay, except posterior side. It is covered by the visceral layer of tunica vaginalis all over except at the posterior aspect, from where the testicular vessels and nerve enter into the gland. The posterior border of the tunica albuginea is thickened to form an incomplete vertical septum that is called the mediastinal testis. See, this is the mediastinal testis, from which the numerous septa extended in the testis divide the testis into 200 to 300 lobules. Okay, so the tunica albuginea, the septa that is divide the testis into 200 to 300 lobules. Okay, and the tunica vasculosa, it is an innermost vascular coat of the testis that lining the lobules that is present inside the testis. So 3 layer: tunica vaginalis, tunica albuginea, and tunica vasculosa. See, now we'll see the structure of testis. As I told you, there are, because of the septa, the testis is divided into 200 to 300 lobules. In each lobules, there are 2 to 3 seminiferous tubules are there. So ultimately 400 to 600 seminiferous tubules are there in testis. And if we stretch one tubules, the measurement of one tubules is 60 centimeter and its diameter is 0.2 millimeter. Now the seminiferous tubules, these seminiferous tubules join together at the apices of the lobule to form 20 to 30 straight tubules that enter into the mediastinum. However, the anastomosis switch each other in the mediastinum to form one network that is called the rete testis. From the rete testis, 12 to 30 efferent ductules is coming out, which emerge near the upper pole of the testis to enter into the epididymis. Okay, so these 20 to 30 efferent ductules join together to form the head of the epididymis, and ultimately one duct is formed that form the body and tail of the epididymis, and it is continuous above with the ductus deferens, or you can say the vas deferens. Arterial supply of the testis. Testis is supplied by the testicular artery, that is the lateral branch of the abdominal aorta at the level of vertebra level L2. See, it descends on the posterior abdominal wall to reach the deep inguinal ring, where it enters into the spermatic cord. At the posterior border of the testis, it divides into branches and enter into the substance of the testis. Venous drainage. Something about the venous drainage of the testis. See, the veins emerging from the testis form one plexus that is called the pampiniform plexus of the vein. That one of the factor helping the regulation of the temperature inside the testis, inside the scrotum. So, this pampiniform plexus, the anterior part of the pampiniform plexus is arranged around the testicular artery, the middle part arranged around the ductus deferens, or you can say the vas deferens, and posterior part is isolated. Now, this, all the veins, the plexus condense to form 4 veins at the superficial inguinal ring. Then it traverses the inguinal canal. When it comes into the deep inguinal ring, it becomes 2, and ultimately one vein is formed on each side, and on the right side is drained into the inferior vena cava, where in case of left side it drains into the left renal vein. You know the reason. On the right side, the right supra and right subcardinal vein, they are taking part in the formation of the inferior vena cava. Same part of the left side, left supracardinal vein and subcardinal vein, taking part in the formation of the left renal vein. So on the right side, the right testicular vein drain into the inferior vena cava, where in case of left side it drain into the left renal vein. Now something about the lymphatic and nerve supply of the testes. See, the lymphatic from the testes ascend along with the testicular vessels and drain into the pre and para-aortic nodes. Whereas nerve supply is by the sympathetic nerves arise from the T10 segment of the spinal cord. Now something about the descent of the testes. There are the many factors that are responsible for the descent of the testes. Before that, we know the testes is developed along with the mesonephrons, okay, at the level of T12, vertebral level T12. However, it start descent into the second month of the intrauterine life. It into the iliac fossa at the third month. When it's come into the deep inguinal ring, it is at the level of 4 or 6 months. It come at the deep inguinal ring. During the 7th month, it travels through the inguinal canal. When it comes into the superficial inguinal ring, there is the 8th month. Means at the 8th month, it comes into the superficial inguinal ring, and just before birth or at the 9th month, it comes into the scrotum. So it travels through this inguinal canal. 4 months into the iliac fossa, 2nd to 3rd month, at the deep inguinal ring, 4 to 6 months, into the inguinal canal at the 7th month, at the superficial inguinal ring at the 8th month, and at the end of 9 months or just before birth into the scrotum. Okay, now which are the factors that are responsible for this descent of the testes? That is the hormones that derive from the male testes, that derive from the testicular testes, that are responsible for the descent of testes. Second factor is growth of the body wall. Third thing is the gubernaculum. We know the gubernaculum that is attached during the development. It is the fibrous band that attached from the lower pole of the testes to the scrotum, and it helps in the descent of the testes. Intra-abdominal pressure of the surrounding organ as well as the intra-abdominal temperature. We know for the spermatogenesis the temperature should be lower, and in the scrotum the scrotal temperature is 4 degree lower than the abdomen. So for the spermatogenesis the testis should be into the scrotum. So intra-abdominal pressure as well as the temperature that is responsible for the descent of testes. Arch fiber of the internal oblique. We know in the formation of inguinal canal there is internal oblique taking part is a major role. So arch fiber of the internal oblique help in the descent of the testes. And the last factor is uncurling of the fetal. We know during the development first the fetal's position is in flex, and then ultimately it becomes the extended. So uncurling of the fetal curves, it is one of the responsible factor for the descent of the testes. Now something about the applied anatomy related to the testes. Anorchism. What do you mean by anorchism? Anorchism means there is a unilateral on one side, there is absence of testes. It is called the anorchism. Same like the monorchism. What do you mean by monorchism? As per name, if bilateral absence of testes is there, it's called the monorchism. Now, undescended testes. The another name for the undescended testes is cryptorchism. See, I have already told there is a one pathway through which the testes from the abdomen come into the scrotum via the iliac fossa, deep inguinal ring, superficial inguinal ring, and ultimately into the scrotum. Right? See, if it is stopped in any pathway during this pathway, like in iliac fossa, either in deep inguinal ring or in superficial inguinal ring, it is called the undescended or partially descended testes. Okay. Now the ectopic testes. What do you mean by ectopic testes? See the name ectopic. Ectopic means it's not in the normal position, right? So it occupies abnormal position. Which are the abnormal position? They are under cover of the skin of the lower part of the abdomen, under the skin of the front of thigh, in the femoral canal, under the skin of penis, or in the perineum behind the scrotum. See, these are the site where the ectopic testes will be there. Now something about the hydrocele of the cord. See, you can see this figure. I have told you the processus vaginalis, that is a pouch of peritoneum that runs along with the testis during the development. And when the testis come into the scrotum, the processus vaginalis is closed. But if it is closed at the deep inguinal ring and just above the testis, but it is remain patent in the middle part, that is from the hydrocele, that is called the hydrocele of the cord. And if it is patent throughout its length, then is from the complete inguinal hernia. Now something about the epididymis. The epididymis is an organ made of the highly coiled tube that act as a reservoir of the spermatozoa. See, as I told you, its part are head, body and tail. And as I explained, the head is formed by 12 to 13 efferent ductules that derive from the testes, right? Okay, they coil together, they form the head. When it comes down, they become one tubules and that form the body and tail of the epididymis. And ultimately, tail of the epididymis continues above as with the ductus deferens, or you can say the vas deferens. At the upper pole, at the upper end of the epididymis, there is one oval body, same like that of the appendix of testes. It is called the appendix of the epididymis, and it is a remnant of the mesonephric duct. Now lastly, the spermatic cord. It is a collection of the structures that pass through the inguinal canal to and from the testes. As we know, it is covered by the concentric layer of the fascia and it begins at the deep inguinal ring. You can see in this figure, this is the spermatic cord. There are many structures that lies in the spermatic cord. Which are they? They are vas deferens, or you can say the ductus deferens, testicular artery, testicular vein, testicular lymph vessels, the autonomic nerves, processus vaginalis, cremaster artery, artery of the vas deferens, and genital branch of genitofemoral nerve. These are very important structure. You have to remember which are the structures in the spermatic cord. Okay. See, this is a cross section of the spermatic cord. You can see here same the layers and the content this, as I already told you, testicular artery, testicular vein, pampiniform plexus, autonomic nerves, genital branch of genitofemoral nerve, ductus deferens, arterioductus deferens, cremaster artery, etc. That's all about the introduction of all the structures, that is the male genital organs. Now we will see how the testes we can hold and which are the part of testes. Thank you.
Now we will see the parts of testes and how we can hold in hand. See, this is the testes of right side. First we see the part. This is the upper pole of testes. This is the lower pole of testes. And as I have told you, upper pole gives attachment to the epididymis as well as the whole spermatic cord. Right? So spermatic cord should be on the upper aspect because it attached with the upper pole of the testes. Okay? Here is the lower pole of testes. This is the anterior border. This is the posterior border, okay, where the epididymis is attached. This is the medial surface. This is the lateral surface. Now, very important thing is, you can see here, this is the sinus or gap that is present here. That is called the sinus of epididymis, okay. That should be on the posterior as well as lateral aspect. So, if we hold the testes in hand like, okay, this is the right side. So, we can see here the sinus of epididymis, it is on the posterolateral aspect. So, this is the very important sign through which we can identify whether the testes of right side or left side. Okay. So, again, upper pole, lower pole, medial surface, lateral surface, anterior border and posterior border. See, this layer you can see, this is the parietal layer of processus vaginalis. There are two layers, as I told you, parietal layer and visceral layer. Okay, but visceral layer is attached with the testes. We cannot strip off. Okay, just we can strip off the parietal layer. So this is the parietal layer of processus vaginalis that covers the whole of the testes. See, we have removed from the anterior aspect. It covers the whole of the testes except on the posterior aspect. Okay, so this is, and if we hold, the upper pole should be upward and somewhat medially, and lower pole is downward and laterally. Now see here, as I told you, on the posterolateral aspect here, epididymis is there, and which are the parts of epididymis? That is head, that is formed by 12 to 30 efferent ductules, okay, and single duct that form the body. This is the body. In the lower part, there is a tail of epididymis, and then it is continuous as a vas deferens in the spermatic cord. So this is the epididymis. Okay. So right side testes, on the posterolateral aspect there is epididymis. Okay. Upper pole, lower pole, medial surface, lateral surface, anterior border and posterior border. Now I am showing the left side. See, this is the left side testis. See, I am holding on the left hand. Okay. So you can, again we can see upper pole, lower pole. Now medial surface, lateral surface, anterior border, and posterior border on the posterior aspect. And the important thing is, see, you can see here this one oval body. See, you cannot see in the this video, but here there is a oval body that is called the appendix of the testis. That is a remnant of the paramesonephric duct. Okay, that is remnant of paramesonephric duct. Same substance like here is there. That is appendix of the epididymis. That is not seen here, but there will be present of appendix of epididymis, and it is a remnant of mesonephric duct. You learn already in embryo. So you have to remember what is appendix of the testis and what is appendix of the epididymis. Same thing, this is the parietal layer. You can see parietal layer processus vaginalis. Okay. And you can see here, this is of left side. So on the posterolateral aspect, this is the, see nicely seen, I just request, see, this is the sinus of epididymis, right? Okay, this one, my finger is moving, okay, in the sinus of epididymis. So this is of left side. So sinus of epididymis on the posterolateral aspect. Anterior border, posterior border, medial surface, lateral surface, and on the lateral aspect there is a sinus of epididymis, okay, and appendix of testis, and over the head of epididymis there is appendix of the epididymis is there. Now see here, this is the spermatic cord. This is the spermatic cord. As I told you earlier, there are many structures present in the spermatic cord. See, you can see here. Small foramina is there. You can see, right? So they are of what? They are the, as I told you, testicular artery, testicular vein, cremasteric artery, genital branch of genitofemoral nerve, artery to vas deferens, autonomic nerve, etc. So they are the content of this spermatic cord. So now I am holding two testes together. See, this is of left side, this is of right side. So how you identify the head or upper pole of the testis on the upper side, from where there is head of epididymis is there and also the spermatic cord is there. Okay, so it should be like this. Okay, and for the medial and lateral aspect, you have to identify the sinus of epididymis. That should be on the posterolateral aspect. And one thing I forgot, that the testis is expanded on the anteroposterior aspect, and it is flattened from side to side. It is flattened from, so it should not be hold like this, right? It should be like this, means it is expanded on the anteroposterior aspect and flattened from side to side. So it has a medial and lateral surface, anterior and posterior border. That you have to remember. Thank you.